Quick little update before this video begins. In the video, I'm always mentioning 5 bowling balls. I completely forgot about this Ricochet Pearl from Columbia 300. I was so hyped about the other 5, I completely forgot about this one. So I will mention this one at the very end of the video, but every time I mention 5 bowling balls, there are actually 6. This Ricochet Pearl is included. I just don't mention it for most of the video. Stay tuned until the end so you can see what we think of this one. But otherwise, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have even more bowling ball announcements, this time coming from Brunswick Bowling. We have 5 new bowling balls that got announced. Let's see, today is 11/6, so 11/5 is when they got announced. 5 crazy bowling balls. Now, I've been a little bit anti-Brunswick on the last couple of releases. There haven't been that many crazy good ball releases. There have been some good ones, don't get me wrong, but they've been a little bit mid. But this release actually looks awesome. We're going to get into all 5 bowling balls. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy what we're doing here. But let's take a deep dive into all 5 brand new bowling balls that Brunswick has to offer. We are starting with probably the most hyped one on the list. This is the Hammer Effect Tour. Now, as a lot of you know, the Hammer Effect is one of the top balls of 2024. Super strong asymmetrical pearl, very rolly, very beautiful colorway. Rolls super good for a lot of people. A few people don't like it, but in general, this ball is really well liked. It's on a lot of lists for top bowling balls of 2024. What Hammer did is they said, well, we could make a solid, but we have the Pure Envy. That's kind of our solid effect tour, or our solid effect. So let's make a tour version because we haven't made a tour in a while. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Hammer likes to make tour or low flare bowling balls. What do they mean by that? It just means the differential is really, really low compared to the original core. So the last couple examples of this, Obsession Tour and Envy Tour. The Envy and Obsession cores, super, super strong. All they did is they just dropped the differential a bunch, dropped the RG a little bit, and then they made the ball very smooth is really their main goal with it. Envy Tour is an incredible ball, really good for sport shots, one of the best sport shot balls of the last couple of years. And now Hammer said, all right, let's do it, but with the effect core. So let's get into the actual numbers of what this ball does. So, unbeatable. Hammer was the first to bring you yada, yada, yada. They are talking about all of the cores for science. They're eliminating the radial disc from the bottom of the Huntsman core. That is the effect core to make a smooth, predictable, continuous ball motion. Cool, cool, cool. But let's actually look into it. The core, Huntsman Tour core. We'll get into that in a second. The cover stock is a Tour V3 solid cover stock. Now, I had to look just in case. What did the old Tour bowling balls have? We have the Envy Tour here. That had, drumroll please, cover stock is, oh, it is just Envy solid. That is interesting. The Obsession had Tour V2. So this has the Obsession amped up cover stock on it. The difference, for anyone who didn't know, between the Obsession Tour and the Envy Tour was much earlier. The Obsession Tour was a little longer and a lot sharper than the Envy Tour. Now, if we look at those bowling balls, the Envy Tour, the core numbers, 247, 034, 013. Obsession Tour, 247, 034, 013. Exact same. What do you think is going to happen when we look at the Effect Tour? 247, 036, 012. Virtually identical. These numbers are very, very close. This ball is basically going to be a new and improved Obsession Tour, which is pretty cool. Overall, the Obsession Tour was pretty well liked by a lot of people. Some people thought it was a little too weak. So maybe this Tour V3 solid cover stock is going to be a titch stronger. There's going to be a ton of reviews out there for the Obsession Tour versus Envy Tour versus Effect Tour for anybody who still has their Obsession Tour. I don't know how many people actually do anymore, but hopefully there are a couple of reviews out there that have it. For sure, you'll see this compared to the Envy Tour. My initial thoughts is this going to be a little bit longer and a little bit sharper than the Envy Tour. Nothing else too crazy about this bowling ball. If you like the effect, remember, this is a modified effect core. Ball motion will be similar-ish. It's not going to be identical. This is not a solid effect. It is not the effect solid. If you want something like that, you have to look at the Pure Envy. This is going to be a really good sport shot ball. It's going to be coming in as a strong and smooth bowling ball for anyone trying to build an arsenal. So really, really interesting, really cool bowling ball idea. I don't see this being big for league bowlers. I see this being a big hit for a lot of sport shots. Now, This ball, will it be used? Now, I know the name. I should backtrack. The name makes it seem like it's going to be big on the PBA Tour. We don't know that. These balls usually aren't incredible on tour. They're usually okay, but the ball shapes they make just don't fit for what the PBA needs. Now, amateur tournaments is a different story. I think this will be really good for tougher amateur tournaments. I don't think it'll be good on the PBA Tour. We'll see. So if anybody tells you this is going to be the best tour bowling ball, clickbait. But that is what the Effect Tour is going to be. Now, let's check out Bowler's Mark quick. The price. So the price of this one comes in at $195. It's a little much in my opinion. It's pretty hefty. That is as much as some of the highest asymmetrical bowling balls on the market. So if we scroll over, we can go over to, let's go to the Attention Star S2. That one's $199. This is a little bit cheaper. It's going to be those similar price range. $5 extra isn't anything crazy, but for this shape, if you need something smooth, if you're someone who's very around the ball with a lot of axis rotation, this ball could be great for you because it's going to be smooth no matter what. Could be a great piece. I'm excited to see it on the lanes a little bit more. It should be interesting. It is basically going to be a new and improved Obsession Tour is going to be the TLDR of this. Very excited for this one. But we have 4 more bowling balls we need to hit, so let's keep moving. We are going over to a brand new core cover combo, the Hammer Anger. Very angry colorway. The Hammer line gets more attitude. HK22 cover stock changed how we develop bowling balls, yada, yada, yada. It is a brand new core called the Modified Infamous Core. Now, slightly new core, by the way. We're going to get into that in just a second. Then the cover stock is HK22 CT Reactive Flip. We have never seen that cover stock before, at least with HK22 we have not. What is this ball going to be? If you want to just get a quick idea, this is going to be a middle to low end Pearl bowling ball. This is a symmetrical Pearl ball, comes with factory polish on it. The core is pretty weak in general. 257 RG is very, very high. 049 differential for today's game is middle of the road, really middle to lower end of the road. It is very similar to like a longer Web Pearl, a longer Scorpion Strike, things like that is where this ball is going to fit. It's going to fit between the strike and the vibe line because there really isn't much in that area for Hammer or in Brunswick in general for right now. Actually, all of the brands will say. This is going to be kind of like a Road Warrior from Storm. I'll like to see a comparison between the Anger and the Road Warrior, but that is what this ball should be doing. Now let's get back to that core for a second. The Modified Infamous Core. I don't know if many of you remember, but many years ago, let's Google it while we're doing this. Many years ago, by that I mean about 2-ish years ago, we had the Hammer Infamous come out. Now this ball wasn't very well liked. It did not sell well. But this thing had a super high RG, medium differential, a solid cover stock, super strong NV solid cover stock. Actually came out in 2021. So this ball is 3 years old now. This is basically a Pearl version of that, but a little weaker. Now, something cool that bowling ball companies do, if a ball doesn't sell well, like the first version of it, they're not going to make a new version. Like they weren't going to make this the Infamous Pearl because the Infamous didn't sell well. So they rebranded it, made it the Anger, made it look like fire, like this, all angry. And they basically just made it a slightly different Infamous Core, a little bit weaker, threw a Pearl cover stock on it and said, let's try this out. I am excited for this ball. This is a ball range that is really good for rev dominant guys or lanes that are a little more burnt up or have a little more friction. So this ball is going to be really good later in the day on the burn, on a house shot on like wood lanes. This could be a good wood lane ball. It's really going to pair well, I think, with an Ivory Rhino and the Scorpion Strike. So the Ivory Rhino is going to be one of the weakest Pearl balls on the market today. That's still reactive. And the Anger is going to be just a nice step up from that, which is going to be really, really good. I am excited for this one. Hammer's been on a really good streak lately of fantastic bowling balls. If we look at their entire line, I don't know if there's really a stinker ball in the list, which is kind of cool. That's hard to do for a lot of companies. I could probably go through all 11 companies and pick a ball that just isn't great. Hammer doesn't really have that. They are looking really good. So I'm excited about this Anger. The other reason I'm super excited about it, the price, it is, let's scroll in a little bit, $150 is pretty good for a Pearl bowling ball. If we compare it to other Pearl bowling balls right now, I said 150. It is $10 less than a Road Warrior, and the Road Warrior should be a little bit weaker. It is 25, math is hard, $25 less than a Phase AI, which it'll be a little weaker than an AI, but kind of close. Same price as an Ivory Rhino. It is a little cheaper than a No Doubt, and the No Doubt should look pretty good, and that is all I can see on the new arrivals. It is actually also cheaper than a Hitter Pearl. Fun fact, that's pretty cool. Now, that price is very, very good for a medium symmetrical pearl bowling ball. So if you're looking for something in that category and you don't want the Scorpion Strike, or you need something a little weaker, this is going to be the bowling ball for you. This should pair really well with a lot of hammer pieces. I'm excited for this one, but these are the two new hammer bowling balls coming out. I know there's a lot of hammerheads that watch these videos, so I hope you guys are excited for these two. They could be really, really good. This is going to be more of a house shot ball. The Effect Tour is going to be more of a sport shot ball. But we have 3 more bowling balls to hit from the other Brunswick brands. We're going to start with Ebonite. We are going to a kind of interesting and weird choice from them. The Real Time. The Real Time, it is gorgeous, by the way. This colorway is beautiful. The pink and purple looks like an Optimum Idol Pearl, but a little more purple to it. Is actually a, drum roll please, play off of the Big Time. Now, the Big Time was kind of a stinker ball. That ball did not do well, did not sell well. It is super cheap right now if you go out and check it out. So if you need a cheap bowling ball, might be a good play right now. But the Big Time wasn't really well liked. It was a ball that was, I believe, based on Tommy Jones to a certain degree. So, of course, TJ is going to be into the first 10 video. But what this ball is it's a slight play off of the Big Time. So the Real Time is a solid symmetrical bowling ball. If we read the description, the Real Time HK22, of course, GB 13.7 solid. Ebonite likes to throw the GB cover on a lot of things and just change the number on it to add or subtract some additives. So 13.7, this is a new one, by the way. 13.7 is new with HK22. It delivers an impressive move on the back end. The main goal of this ball is going to be a shiny, solid bowling ball that gets down lane but isn't too sharp, but still has a solid bowling ball reaction. So any other crazy numbers on it? No, except for the core numbers. Now let's go through the core numbers. RG is 2508, basically 251, kind of in the middle of RG world, a little bit closer to the lower end. And then differentials 054, it's a little bit higher. These numbers are very similar to the No Doubt from Radical, the Zen from 900 Global, slightly stronger symmetrical cores. It's what it's similar to. Now, the cover on is a little interesting. The GB covers are usually a titch weaker than some of Ebonite's other covers. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. And it does come with polish on it. So it is a polished, solid bowling ball. Now, we don't have really much else. Does this tell us? No. We're going to go through all of their pieces. Ball card, garbage. Flip card, garbage. Nope. Okay. Unfortunately, Ebonite doesn't really show us where this ball is going to line up. In my opinion, this is going to be a good bridge between the medium smooth and medium sharp categories in a bowling arsenal. This is going to come after your Game Breaker 5, but it's going to come before some of your weaker shiny balls like the Scorpion Strike, like the Anger that we just mentioned. But this is going to be like more of a transition ball or something a solid that'll actually get down lane. Shiny solid bowling balls are really, really good to have. A lot of guys with a little more axis rotation adore it because pearls just are a little too skid flippy. This is going to be less skid flip, a little more read in the mid lane, which is going to be really, really good. Plus, the colorway is gorgeous. Now, the main reason I like this ball is this price. This is $140. That is by far the cheapest bowling ball you can get for this kind of punch. So $140 sounds like a lot, I know, because we just talked about the Anger and that's $150. What's the difference? The Real Time is going to be a little earlier and smoother. So if you need a medium range bowling ball, you're not going to beat $140. Just for context, if we look up the other bowling ball that can fit similar to here is the Scorpion Strike, which is $145. So this is actually probably the cheapest bowling ball Brunswick has to offer that isn't a Hammer Raw or an Arctic Vibe or a Vibe in general. So this is going to be on my value list for good bowling balls because For the same motion, we talked about the No Doubt is 170. It is $30 more for a No Doubt, and that's going to be just slightly more ball, slightly stronger bowling ball than the Real Time. Very, very exciting, very cool. Good job, Ebonite. If we look at Ebonite's bowling balls right now, they have a Real Time, the Crusher, the One Reverb, the Fireball, the GB5, and the GB4 Hybrid. Now, how does it pair against the GB4 Hybrid is going to be interesting. I think these two balls will be a little bit similar. I think this is going to be the way that Ebonite kicks the GB4 Hybrid into retirement. Now, if we look at this, it does have the GB 12.0 hybrid cover stock, but otherwise the core numbers are a little, this one's a little bit earlier, but a little less flare on the Game Breaker 4 compared to the Real Time. They're going to be able to complement each other. They'll be different enough, but I don't know if that enough is going to be good for somebody who only owns 3 bowling balls. But if you're trying to just buy like 1 bowling ball a year, this Real Time might be the play for you. Very interesting piece. I'm excited to see its ball reaction. We have 2 more bowling balls left, one from DV8, one from Track. I'm leaving the best for last, so make sure to stick around for the final one. That one is one that I'm super hyped about. But first, we're going to go to DV8. This one's interesting, questionable. I like to keep hope for a lot of new bowling balls until they prove otherwise. But we have the DV8 Heckler. The DV8 Heckler, now, I originally thought this was going to be a play off the DV8 Hater. It's not. Bold name choice, DV8. Very bold name choice. It makes me think it's a hater, but it's not. But this ball is really focused on no-thumb bowlers. DV8 seems to be Brunswick's, like, Brunswick's side company that is focused on two-handed bowling. Because we've had the Troublemaker, we had the Troublemaker Hybrid, we had a couple, the Hater I know was positioned pretty hard towards two-handers, the Mantra was positioned pretty hard towards two-handers / no-thumb, and now we have the Heckler. So what is the Heckler? We can ignore all of this mumbo-jumbo. We're going to look at the core numbers. We have 250 RG, 0.051 differential, 0.0108 intermediate differential. Hard words to say. What does that mean? It's a mild asymmetrical bowling ball, similar to the Mantra. This is going to be a solid reactive ball. HK22C makes it be a little bit sharper down lane. Maximum Havoc cover stock. That doesn't mean anything for anybody. I tried looking it up. Got nothing. It's a brand new one. They didn't really talk about it all that much. But what that means is this ball's really going to be just mild asymmetrical solid. It does not come polished. It is dull. Their goal for this ball seems to be they want this to be the top ball in the bag for a no-thumb bowler. No-thumb bowlers generally rev dominant. They want this to be the strongest and smoothest ball that you own because you won't need something as strong as an Extreme Envy, let's say. So you need something a little bit weaker, and that's where, let's go back to the picture of the Heckler, that's where the Heckler comes in. Now, they do have an info sheet, which I really need to zoom in on, which I love DV8 for this. This is something that Motive does really well also, where they show you all of their bowling balls in a line to see where they line up. We still have the Hater as the strongest bowling ball, the strongest, not the smoothest because it's a hybrid, but easily the strongest and the best for heavy oil. I think the Hater's a little too much for two-handers, which is where this Heckler really comes in. The Heckler is still asymmetric, which is great, so it's going to really fit in this slot well. And then you have the Wicked and Violent Collisions, much weaker bowling balls that are going to be more on the skid flip end, the sharper end, longer and sharper. You have the Troublemakers, which are symmetric but very, very strong cores. You have the Mantra further down than I would put it personally. Yes, it's more of a medium and sharp bowling ball, but I think this ball is closer to the Troublemaker Pearl than I anticipated. And then the Chill Pearl is a more weak bowling ball, but the Heckler is really in that strong and smooth category. And DV8 gives a lot of tools for two-handers. Quick reminder, go check out my 2LS video if you're a two-hander or a no-thumb bowler to really know how to put a layout on your bowling ball. Otherwise, DV8 has some fantastic resources on this Click to Explore or no-thumb resource page. They're good. They're not anything crazy, but they're good. In general, gonna be a stronger, smoother bowling ball. It has dynamic core, it has dot technology, all the usual stuff from Brunswick. So that is the Heckler. This is the one I'm questioning the most. This one I think has the least hype behind it in general. This and the Real Time, but we will see in the next couple weeks how it looks. I know a lot of staffers have been throwing it. Unfortunately, staffers, they are going to say that the ball is incredible. I am excited to see more unbiased sources talk about it. We're going to go to the final bowling ball here. One left, track bowling ball. You probably could maybe see it in my very tiny window up above me. We have the track Theorem Pearl. We have a new Theorem after almost a full year of the OG hybrid Theorem. We have the Theorem Pearl. I'm going to keep my camera out of it a little bit so you guys can just view this beautiful blue and silver and I think a little purple bowling ball in there. It is gorgeous, first of all. Well done on the colorway. This might make my list for prettiest bowling balls of 2024. That video is coming soon, but let's look at it. There isn't much crazy about this bowling ball, right? We just had the Attention Star S2 get announced from Rotogrip, where that ball is pretty much very simple. It's just a hybrid version of the Attention Star. They're really doing the same thing with this, where the Theorem and the Attention Star are really two animals that are just in different companies, but really similar. They are both two of the best bowling balls of the last 1+ years. And they now have new versions that are virtually identical, just a slightly different cover stock. Theorem Pearl, very simple. It has the same HK22 prime response cover stock. However, this one is a Pearl cover stock compared to the hybrid version on the OG Theorem. The core is identical. The cover is still prime response Pearl. It's just now, prime response. It's just now Pearl compared to hybrid. Nothing too crazy about it. It's going to be longer and sharper than the original Theorem. While the original Theorem already fit as a strong and sharp bowling ball, this is going to be less strong but more sharp. This might fall down into a medium and sharp bowling ball, but I think it's still going to stay in strong sharp, just be a little bit weaker than your Theorem. So if you're somebody whose Theorem is not sharp enough, which will be interesting because I know I have a Theorem and there aren't many times where that Theorem is not sharp enough. It's usually sharp enough. It's never too smooth. So I don't know of a time I'd use a Theorem Pearl. It looks gorgeous though, and I think you could just jump way left with it. Or if you have less ball speed than me, or a little more axis rotation, or even a little bit less, this ball could be really good. Or a little less oil on your league shots. This ball could be really good. Now, I did forget to mention the price of the Heckler, $190. Not great. A little cheaper for an asymmetrical bowling ball, but not crazy cheap. But let's look at this Theorem Pearl. $170. $170 is amazing for a strong and sharp bowling ball. Now, if we look up the track Theorem, I believe the price should be identical, right? Yeah, thank God. Whew, good. That would have really sucked if they were different because that would have been unfortunate. The Theorem Pearl is $170. Very good price. Very simple, to the point with the Theorem Pearl. What is it going to pair well off of in the track lineup? Let's go look at all of the bowling balls that track has. They have the Theorem, the Criterion, Stealth Hybrid, Tundra Fire, Cypher, Archetype Hybrid, and the OG Theorem. I believe this is going to be the time that the Archetype Hybrid gets booted, but previously the Criterion was the strongest and smoothest, then it went to Archetype, then it went Theorem, and then it went Stealth Hybrid and Cypher and Tundra Fire as the symmetrics. Now it's going to go Criterion, Archetype Hybrid, Theorem, and adding the Theorem Pearl behind it. It is only one of 2 Pearl bowling balls in Track's lineup. Now, Brunswick does have a lot of asymmetrical Pearl options. I believe this is going to be the weakest and sharpest of them all. This is going to be the weakest and sharpest Brunswick Asym Pearl on the market, minus the Mantra. The Mantra is going to be a little bit weird because it's so mild asymmetrically, but this is going to be very similar to that. It's going to be probably a little bit stronger, but weaker than everything else. Very excited about this one. In general, 5 new bowling balls. 4 of them are super, super cool. The Heckler is going to be interesting. I'm keeping my hopes up. I just don't know what it's going to do. It looks to me like it's going to be a beefier Rubicon from Rotogrip, which is kind of cool. It could be a beefier XL. It's going to have the DV8 traditional shape, which is going to be smooth and slow. DV8's great at making that ball shape. In general, this is a fantastic bowling ball drop, bowling ball release from Brunswick. These are all incredible, cool bowling balls. I'm excited to see them. I'm going to be doing a lot of research to see what they look like. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see on the bowling balls. I will probably order 1 to 2 of them, and I will let you guys know, try to get some videos out there of what I think of them. If I had to pick one of these bowling balls, you put me into a room and locked me in and said, you must pick only one of these to throw, and that's it. I think the Effect Tour has to still be number 1. It's an Effect Yet core. It's the Tour bowling ball. The Obsession Tour and Envy Tour were great. This thing will have already a really good track record based on the previous versions. Ball number 2 will be the Theorem Pearl for me. That is the second one I'm most hyped about. I might try to pick up a Theorem Pearl because of how cool it looks. But otherwise, the other 3 are still pretty great. So that is going to be it on our deep dive on the 5 new Brunswick releases. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this in the comments. I want to try making some more videos on the new releases. Give me some ideas of what you guys would like to hear me talk about and showcase on these bowling balls. Otherwise, if you're new here, make sure to drop a sub. Helps me out immensely, helps me make all these videos, helps me get you guys some bowling balls to be able to showcase. Otherwise, that is going to be it. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. See you later. Bye-bye. Welcome to the part of the video of the bowling ball that I completely forgot about. Yeah, love it. We forgot about the Columbia 300 Ricochet Pearl. Apologies for that. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the video, but let's talk a little bit about this Ricochet Pearl. This is one of the more unique bowling balls out of the 6. I did not really remember this bowling ball existed, but let's get into it a little bit. It is very, very weird, and there's a few extra caveats that I didn't catch the first time that I saw this ball when they dropped the first pictures and the first teaser videos of bowling balls coming out. So we have this Ricochet Pearl. This is, as Columbia 300 pretty much is at this point, a throwback bowling ball. The Ricochet was a very old bowling ball. I don't know much about it. I am not a bowling ball historian very much. I only started bowling back in 2015. So if anybody knows a little bit more about this ball, please leave it in the comments. I would really appreciate it, and so would a lot of the viewers. But this is the Ricochet Pearl. It has HK22. It actually has HK22C, which means it's going to smell a little bit like oranges, which is kind of cool. That means it's going to be a little bit earlier, a little bit more dynamic, or a little sharper down lane. It is odd because of this weird finish piece. 500 grit into factory compound, into factory polish. Now, I'm assuming, based on a few other videos I've seen, that this ball is going to be insanely, insanely shiny. So it's 500 grit, one of the lower grits you can get to, but then they put compound on, and then they put an actual polish. Now, seeing factory polish isn't very common for a lot of Brunswick bowling balls. They usually have slightly different ways. Usually Sia Air compound, I believe, is the name of it. We can actually look back. We have a couple bowling balls still up. Yeah, they talk about factory compound as their end one. 1500 Sia Air into factory compound. Now, this one is factory compound and then a polish on top of it. Very interesting. Why do they do that? I'm guessing this ball rolls really early. We do have some core numbers. We have 249 RG and an 054 differential. So that is going to be a slightly stronger symmetrical bowling ball core. So what does that actually mean? This one kind of lines up with some of those stronger symmetricals out there. It's not as strong as something like an Optimum Idol. It's kind of similar to a Phase 2, maybe a little bit stronger than a Phase 2. But then we have this HK22C Micro Flex cover stock, which is kind of interesting. This thing is going to be odd in all of the Columbia 300 bowling balls because we have the Super CUDA, the Atlas Hybrid, the Messenger, the Kaboom. The Pure Madness is unfortunately discontinued. I'm shocked it's still on the website. Someone's messing up there. And I believe the Power Core also got discontinued. So these two are technically gone, and then a bunch of white dots. This ball is kind of in a league of its own. It's going to be a medium and sharp bowling ball. It's going to be a little earlier. It's probably going to be around no doubt territory, maybe a titch earlier because of, well, it's going to be weird when you put 500 grit on a bowling ball and then you put polish over it, but there's a step of compound, which means I think this is actually going to be longer than a no doubt. And it's going to be sharper, but it might be a little too over under. So don't be afraid to take the polish off bowling balls. I think this one will look pretty good with the polish off. I think it'll be like a no doubt or like a lot of the stronger medium and sharp balls. I could see this being the phase AI of Brunswick, because the phase AI seems to want to roll similar to what these numbers tell for a story. The phase AI is very tumbly. When it hooks instantly. There is no hook window. That hook window for the bowling ball is very tiny. And I feel like this one's going to be very, very similar, which is why they put that 500 grit on, and then factory compound, and then factory polish. This one's going to be interesting. I don't know what to expect from this ball, in all honesty. The numbers make it seem like a stereotypical medium and sharp bowling ball. The weird finish and the weird surface this is going to be at is going to be a little bit wonky. I believe this is going to be stronger than an anger. It's going to be weaker. Well, it should be a little bit similar, probably a little bit stronger than the real time also. And then it's going to be in a league of its own for a Columbia 300 bowling ball. Apologies for missing this one in the original portion of the review. Thank you guys for sticking around for the rest of the video. See you later.